Hi everybody. Hello, hello. And good time zone. And what is up, gamers? Hello. Welcome in. Hope you're having the loveliest of lovely days. Alquill, hello, welcome in. Buddy, hello, hello, welcome in. Hello, friends. Good sometime between 4:30 and 5 and hi. Sorry I'm a little bit late. My moderator slash spouse literally got in the door like the second I was about to go live. Um so I'm not blaming you, Sunshine. I'm not blaming him, by the way. I was very happy to see him and wanted to say hello. So I thought I'd do that first because, we're married and we live together and I miss him when he's not at home. Anyways, hi. We're painting some gay hamsters. And I hope you're having a lovely day. I hope you had a good weekend. It's so nice to be back in this incredibly sweaty chair that I'm in. Oh my god, I should have put my hair up before we started. But I didn't realize just how incredibly warm it was going to be in the studio, which apparently it is, because I'd been sitting in the other room with an electric fan about maybe sort of two to 3 feet away from me, and yeah, it turns out that was doing a lot of heavy lifting in terms of keeping me comfortable, because it is, I don't know how many of you are based in the UK, but it is, we had a nice sort of like reasonably mild, like mid-20s Celsius week last week, and we are back up into for the United Kingdom anyways, Scorchio range this week. And well, if you know anything about me, you know I'm not loving that. Yay, yippee skippy. So my schedule for the week is stay out of the sun, 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 and then on Friday I'm staying out of the sun. If you are, once again, I know I put, like, you know this stuff. You're adults. I assume that you're adults, because this is an adult stream for grown-ups, by the way. I assume you know this stuff, but my god, if it's hot where you are, stay out of the sun wherever possible. Wear sunscreen if you have to be out in it, and honestly, just cover up with lightweight, moisture-wicking layers. It will ultimately be more comfortable than, like, say on the weekend. I made a silly mistake on Saturday. I was like, okay, I want to dress as casually as possible. I'm not feeling putting in an effort. It was a very sunny day, and I was wearing short sleeves. And I was not out in the sun for that long, and oh boy, did just patches of my skin decide to come out in a rash. Not a sunburn, not long enough to get sunburn, but just being exposed to the sun makes me break out in a rash. I love whatever the hell is wrong with my body. Anyways, but yeah, additionally, obviously, if you have not had a sip of anything recently, sip a beverage. I've got a big iced tea here. This is a tropical pineapple mint blend, and this is just mint. This is peppermint and spearmint, and you'll notice the bag is still in it. This is a cold brew, which I don't normally do, but there's a couple of exceptions that I'll make in the interest of instant cold tea. Anyways, I'm going to moisturize my hands before we get started, because I think it's important to have the softest, supplest hands possible if you're going to be working with them. It just, honestly, just having well moisturized hands makes me more comfortable when I'm working with my hands. It sounds like a weird concern, but honestly, it really helps. I love this hand cream. It is the hand cream. Drink some carbonated tap water. Ooh, fancy. Do you have like a tap that do you have just like fizzy water on tap, Owlquill? Or is this like, do you run your tap water through like a carbonation station, like a soda stream type situation? That sounds a soda stream. That sounds very refreshing. I've been drinking more carbonated beverages lately, actually. I've never been a big fizzy drink person, at least not in adulthood. But I've gotten kind of back into fizzy drinks lately because they've got these adult sodas that are surprisingly good. I call them adult sodas. Now, that makes it sound like they've got alcohol in them. I've drank them on stream before. I call them adult sodas because they have like 5 grams of sugar per can, but also like 7 grams of fiber. And oh man, my middle-aged digestive system really appreciates both of these things. Anyways, good for the digestive system, good for the blood sugar, and it tastes like berries and cherries or rhubarb or whatever. and that's delightful to me. I was reminded the other day, apparently, so there was some news that apparently Mountain Dew Baja Blast is now available at Taco Bell's in the UK for a limited time. And it was one of those sort of like mythical beverages for a long time because it was only available at this one fast food place and blah, blah, blah. And, honestly, like, having had it fairly recently, I had it at a Taco Bell in Toronto a few months ago when I was back in Canada. And, it's fine. It's kind of a nondescript citrus flavor, and you'll be surprised to know I think it's too sweet. Whoa! Shocking twist of events. Though that being said, when I'm on holiday back in the old country, in the country of my birth, the place where I lived when I was when I was a child and younger adult, I get nostalgic for stuff that, like, I wouldn't normally consume, like unhealthy things. Because those are the things that were treats when I was there, Anyways, but this, it's just okay. I think like 80% of the appeal of Mountain Dew Baja Blast, if you've never seen it, is that it's kind of a paler version of like a combination of these two colors. It's like a really lovely sort of pale turquoise color, and that color just, it shouldn't look delicious, but it just looks delicious. And I think that's a big part of the appeal, honestly. It's just like, this looks like it's gonna taste really good. I don't know if that's stupid, but it's like blue raspberry, It's just like, oh man, this looks like it's gonna taste really good, And to be fair, I would, given the choice, I would prefer probably blue raspberry because I like a raspberry situation. I like a citrus situation, but I like a citrus situation where I can tell what citrus it's supposed to be. Like, this is lemonade, this is orange, like this is, I don't know, yuzu or grapefruit, or I would probably not have a lime soda myself, but that's just my weird preferences. Anyways, Alquil says, the job I had before my current one had a carbonator thingy connected to the water tap. Yeah, that is a thing. You can get fancy water taps. I have a water tap that dispenses water, and you can, to a certain extent, choose a temperature. Though, to be honest, it's one of those ones where if I flick this one, it's cold. If I flick this one, it's hot. And if I want, like, a sort of tepid temperature in between, say for washing dishes, but the hot tap is too hot and the cold tap is just cold, and I want it to be reasonably hot but not burning my hands hot water, what you end up is a situation where I don't know how, like, the temperatures... it's like, I don't know how the temperatures work, or the separation of the two different temperatures, or where they're coming from in terms of pipes or what have you, but you end up with, instead of just having like a combination of the two temperatures coming out of the tap, you have different sections of the stream coming out of the tap that will be either hot or cold. And so you're experiencing simultaneously, your skin is being burned, but also it's really cold right next to it. And they're like disconnected. But it looks like a steady single stream of water. It's not as bad. It's not as bad as, I don't know what it's like in the countries that y'all live in, but you mostly see this these days in, like, older, loos. Not really, not so much in kitchens, I don't think, but you'll see them at the sink in the loo will have... And again, this is mostly like older buildings. They don't seem to be putting this in newer buildings, probably because it's pants. But you'll have a hot tap on one side and a cold tap on the other side. So it's like, okay, the hot tap is going to burn you. The cold tap is going to make your joints seize up. So if you want to wash your hands after doing your business, and you do want to wash your hands after doing your business because you're not a disgusting monster who wants to put bacteria on everything you touch, and also just, ew, wash your hands. Anyways, you end up having to go, sort of like, you get soap on, and then you go sort of like this one, then this one, then this one, and just sort of like all splashing back and forth between the hot and cold, so that, to try and find some sort of equilibrium of neither temperature, like, getting to you before you finish rinsing your hands. It's an experience that I think a lot of British people will understand. And if you've never experienced that, I love that for you. Truly, I do. But yeah, if you live in North America, I just sorry. Now I'm just thinking about like bathroom infrastructure now. This is such a stupid conversation to be having on stream. But anyways, I'm thinking about bathroom infrastructure now, and I'm thinking specifically about one of the reverse culture shocks that I had the last time I went back to Canada, because as you may or may not know, I live in the UK. I've been living here for about 13 years now. God, has it been that long? Jesus. Yeah, Canada feels like a very foreign country to me now when I go back to visit. And one of the things that, like, things that you just kind of take for granted when you live there, and then you really only notice when you've been away for a long period of time. I was in the airport waiting for the like van that was driving us to my parents' house in a city near Toronto. And I had to visit the loo before we, sort of made the drive. So I popped over to the loos, and the stalls, there was like a solid foot of just free space at the bottom of the stall, between the bottom of the stall door and the floor. And I'm just not used to that as a person who lives in the Britain, where the stall doors in the bathrooms are just like floor to ceiling. It's just a door. There's no gaps, or if there is a gap, there's not an appreciable gap. There's maybe like a centimeter just to let it sort of flow back and forth easily. But this was a gap of like a foot, and I was like, oh my God, people are gonna see like my shoes and my ankles while I'm doing a wee. That's horrifying. And I was so freaked out that I just felt so exposed and like visible, which obviously isn't true. It was never a problem when I lived in Canada. It's not anything, but I just felt so embarrassed. Because I felt like everyone's just gonna notice me, which is stupid. We're like, I know, it's a bathroom. We're all there to do the same thing. People are ignoring each other. But why is there such a huge gap at the bottom of the door? That's weird. I didn't like it. Anyways, moving on from that, Alcool says, I heard someone claim that the idea with those was to fill the sink from both taps so the water in the sink is a nice temperature, which I've heard the same thing, which in theory, I get, but like, I don't want to fill this, like, the basin of a bathroom sink in, like, a public convenience, I don't know how frequently that is cleaned, and I don't know who else has been washing their hands there, and I don't know what kind of gubbins is just going to be ambiently in the water that other people have left behind with their washings, that has, sort of clung to the sides of the basin. Ew, no, ew. Ew, no, ew. And Alcohol goes on to say, which would have made more sense to people used to wash basins that you would just fill from a pitcher rather than people used to running water already. Yeah, exactly. I think if you come from a time period where your daily washing up, and I did, as you may or may not know, I have a YouTube channel, and I did make a video about soap and relatedly sort of hygiene and bathing in the 18th century, in case you're curious. I forgot I have an exclamation mark YouTube command. I don't actually have to type it in anymore. Anyways, never mind. It doesn't take that much longer. But that was pretty much de rigueur for a very, very, very long time, is that your sort of daily freshen up would be just thank you, Mark. Also, hi, Mark. How's it going? Lovely to see you. Welcome in. You would have like a basin and a pitcher of water, and you would use your basin and your pitcher of water and like a cleaning, sort of a nice piece of like linen cloth and some soap. And I don't have to tell you how to wash. You know how to use soap. Anyways, but that was the principle of the thing. So yeah, if that is what you're used to, and you now have taps and running water, I suppose it would make sense to you to fill it up. And indeed, if you're at home, I could see that not you know how clean your basin is. You know who's used the basin, that kind of thing. You know whether or not it's been wiped down since the last time somebody filled it up. But when you're in like a department store and there's long queues for the ladies' toilets, and lots of people have used these sinks, ew, no, ew, God, ew, ew, no. Moriak says, oh yeah, my grandparents were tin bath in front of the fire, kids. Yep, absolutely. Classic. God, I'm glad that wasn't me. Some things are better now. As much as I'm like a history enthusiast, I'm also like, man, some things are so much better now. As much as I love a lot of the clothes from previous periods and wearing them and feeling very comfy in them, oh my God, so many things are so much better now. Like, you know, I was not a tin bathtub in front of the fire kid. I was arrange whatever temperature I want for the bath and then spend as much time as it takes for the water to like fully cool down to slightly below room temperature while I was pretending to be a mermaid in there, kid. That was me and my baths. I was just like, I'm a mermaid. Normal behavior. Anyways, hope you are well, says Mark. You too. Hello, hello. Hope chat is well. I hope chat is well also, and I hope you are well. Yeah, how was everybody's weekends? Did you have good weekends? I'm genuinely trying to think of what the hell I did this weekend, and the answer is a resounding I don't know. Also, I've realized that in placing some peaches in this basket, we are firmly establishing, I guess, that either these peaches are incredibly teeny tiny, or that these hamsters are the size of humans. And I'm not sure which I prefer the implications of. I think, perchance, this is just a somewhat fantastical realm where we don't think too hard about things like scale on that level. Because it makes me feel strange. Okay. I think that's fine. I think that's alright. I'm still thinking it would have been really cute to have like a little stone fence somewhere here, but I don't know where to put it that doesn't just make it feel like there's kind of a dividing line between like this section of the painting and this section of the painting, and I feel like that's going to create a weird feeling that I don't love as much. I don't know, I just think it would be weird, because like the obvious choice for like a stone fence would be along here, but that also kind of would create a tangent perchance with this hill up here, and that also feels weird. So I think we just have to not have a stone fence and be okay with that. I also feel like I wish there was more stuff happening over here, but we might, as I add sort of horticultural greebling into the hills, I think we might figure that out. I think there might be some taller grasses or whatever in patches here and there, and that might be cute. I don't know. But would it be getting too far ahead of myself if I actually started painting? Next question. Like, I kind of feel like it might, but I don't know. I'm gonna take a sip of my tea first. Yum, yum, delicious. Oh, geez. What was I gonna say? Yes. Well, business. I think I mentioned it last time. I don't recall. I think I mentioned it last time, but I'm going to mention it again because I'm trying to get better about mentioning these things. I updated my shop. Just a teeny tiny little update in case thou art curious. And when I say teeny tiny, I mean teeny tiny. This is ahead of, I'm planning a much larger update for the autumn. I need to get on probably actually making the things that are going to go in the autumn update, but in the meantime, I've done a small run of prints of this little piece of Copenhagen. If you like Copenhagen and think that it's cute, you might like this. If you like Star Trek, you might like this little Miles sticker. He is everybody's friend, an absolute dude. Even more lovely than a nice cup of Barry's tea, and that's saying something, because I do think that Barry's tea is quite good. And also, obviously, here's Jadzia. And as for the sort of color blocked stripes in the background, I don't know. I just thought they were pretty. And this, technically it relates to my next YouTube video, so you might have to wait and see why this little guy exists. Yeah, I'd intended to be done the video by now, but we had some very, very hot weather that was too hot to film in, and then, I was away for a large portion of last week, so I did not film then. I'm aiming to film this week despite the fact that it's very hot, and I don't know, y'all are just gonna have to deal with the fact that I look incredibly sweaty on camera. I have no solution for this. I just don't know. I'm fanning myself with my other art print right now, by the way, which is this. There's also just a ton of other, like, old stuff in the shop that is still available. If you don't like any of these, but you think my work is cute, you might find something else that you like there. Feel free to take a look, should you feel so inclined. If you do not feel so inclined, that's okay, too. I understand. None of us have any money right now, and also you might just enjoy the vibes here, but genuinely think my art is kind of naff, in which case, I'm so glad that you're here. Thank you. I appreciate that. Where's my palette? Did I leave my palette? Okay, I had to clean my palette because it was covered in paints from the last time that I painted, because I had not done it after last stream sesh. And I think I left it by the sink, so I'll be right back. Oh my god. Oh. Where are you? Where are you? Oh, streamer, you complete and utter dingbat. Okay, hi Freddy, welcome in. Oh, yes, I have one other incredibly important thing to report on. I have had just an incredible line delivery stuck in my head all day. It's so stupid. Especially because it's from Tomodachi Life, which is a video game that I've been playing quite a bit of off stream at the moment. Hi, Freddie, welcome in. Did I say hi, Freddie? Hi, Freddie. Also, hi, Katie, welcome in. Hope you are both very, very well. Hope you're having the loveliest of lovely days. I will get to painting this in just a second. But first, I have to tell you, this genuinely been, like, just running around my head all day. So, two of my villagers in my Tomodachi Life island got into a fight. Like, a setting themselves on fire, throwing things at each other fight. And I had hoped that they might be able to, like, you know, calm down a bit, patch things up, talk it out, apologize, that kind of thing. Nope. They just, like, fully hate each other and are no longer friends, and they're really sad. But, I had given them, like, a few hours in the hopes that they might calm down. I clipped this because it was so funny to me. And I need you to witness this line. I don't know why it tickled me so much. But I ended up trying to get them to reconcile again, so I, like, dragged one of them to the other's location in the hopes that they might, like, talk and be like, hey, I'm sorry about what happened. Yeah, I'm sorry too. I don't know what happened between these two, but oh boy. Please enjoy. Is there sound on here? Okay. I don't know if you can hear the sound at all, but
no, you complete and utter dingbat.
I just thought that was delightful. He just, as soon as he saw him, he just ran out of the room crying and said, "You complete and utter dingbat." I love that so much. I mean, I felt really bad because he was very upset. But it was very funny. I have to say, the localization for this game is absolutely incredible. Like, if you have the English Europe localization, oh my god, the dialogue is so funny. Especially if your entire island is comprised of characters from Star Trek Deep Space Nine, most of whom are not English. There's one person who is actually English and sounds normal, and everyone else sounds weird. I did manage to get a sort of cadence to O'Brien's voice that makes him sound vaguely Irish, but not quite. But just hearing, Nog, you complete and utter dingbat, it just makes my day. But there was a cutscene where one of them said, pull the other one, it's got bells on. And I'm like, oh my god, did you just say it was so silly. Anyways, I love this game. This game is perfect. Anyways, I'm gonna take a sip of my beverage. I think we should bring back dingbat. Not enough people use the term dingbat. I think that's a good one. I'm stealing that for something I'm writing. I'm gonna find an excuse for somebody to call someone else a dingbat in my book. I have to. I have to figure out how to make that happen. I'm a reasonably skilled writer. Oh god, I got a huge compliment from somebody today and it just broke me. This person said that I was a big, influence on them and their writing when they were, a teenager, and they're in their mid-20s now, and I'm like, oh, number one, that makes me feel old, and number two, that makes, what the flip have I achieved in the last 10 years writing-wise? Oh, no. Oh, no. I need to get on that. Anyways. I like Lummox. Lummox is good, Alquill. I like Lummox too. That's a good one. I don't know if I'm cool enough to pull off saying Lummox, but I like that. That's good. Katie says the one I swiped from TF2 was Chuckle Nuts. Okay, also very, very good. A very different vibe to Lummox, I feel like, but both of these are S tier terminologies. Excellent. Absolutely excellent. Oh, I've been using dipstick a lot lately. I don't know why. I find it useful. Usually to refer to, the kind of people who think that AI is good. Cause, yeah. Anyways, I did see that, I don't know if y'all, I don't wanna belabor this topic too much because I'll just get angry, but I did see a news article from a couple days ago saying that apparently Norway is set to ban the use of AI tools in schools, and I'm like, yeah, I would love to see more of that and less of the mandates from schools being you have to show kids how to do this or let kids do this, blah blah blah, and it's no, all of the research is very, very clearly demonstrating that it is worse for a student's education to become reliant on this stuff. They need to understand that this stuff is a bad crutch and will make your work worse and will make your ideas worse. It doesn't encourage, critical thinking, which are important skills. There was another article where someone who was in some kind of finance management at a big finance company was saying that they have stopped hiring the AI literate STEM graduates into entry-level jobs because those people demonstrably can consistently have less and less good quality new ideas, and instead are looking at hiring humanities grads who've actually had to cultivate a sense of critical thinking. Just wild. Katie says, God bless Norway for reals. For real, for real. It's also the home of Quick Lunch, which is the better version of Kit Kat. So love them for that already. Freddie says, I heard Sweden was looking into that too, and the negative effect AI has on children in general. It's so, it is wild to me that, for instance, the UK government has just decided to go all in on, we've got to get in on this and do all of the things and be really, pro-AI stuff, despite all of the evidence that it's not good. And, like, nobody wants this except for the people who are either making money off it, want to make money off it, or want to be friends with the people who are making money off of it so that they can make money off of it. And it's just like, no one wants this. I remember there was a service that I used that put around a survey like a year or two ago about, like, hey, how would you feel if we introduced AI features that would help you do this, that, and the other? And every response of mine was just like, I do not want AI features. I think that they're worse. This will make your product/service worse. No one wants this. I was very clear. Obviously, they didn't listen to anybody and just put the features in anyways, and I hope nobody uses them. But, yeah. Anyways, moving on. Farmhouse. It's the 19th century. Yay! That's not to say, listen, despite the fact that I'm not into, like, the let's shoehorn AI into everything, that doesn't mean that I think things were better in the 19th century. I think things were worse in the 19th century. Medicine was worse. Life expectancy was worse. Being openly gay was a lot harder. This is just a charming little historical fantasy where these hamsters can comfortably live their lives under no scrutiny whatsoever from their families being like, why won't you marry a man? You know? And then being like, listen, I just want to live my best life with my best friend, okay? Chill. This is a soft 19th century of the mind because, you know, sometimes I just want to be whimsical, okay? That's kind of the point of most of the things that I do is I just want to have some whimsy. This is real silly. I'm trying to find a reference photo or a reference copy of one of my own paintings because I need it to get the color of the farmhouse right. Because it's like red, but I can't remember how red it was, so I need to know what color I need to blend up for it. Because I think that's what I want to start painting first, is this little chunky up here, and then we'll make our way down from there, I think. Anyways, but yeah, the only thing going for the 19th century is they didn't have to worry about Gen AI. Yeah, exactly, Katie, exactly. I mean, like, you know, they had industrialization, for better or for worse. A lot of it was worse. But then also there were things that, like, they didn't really have yet that, you know, were modern conveniences that just generally make people's lives a lot better. Like, before, like, the automated washing machine, doing laundry was an extremely arduous task of manual labor. That's part of the reason that you see, like, with historical clothing of sort of 19th and earlier centuries, that you would wear a skin-facing layer of, like, a lightweight cotton or linen that was easy to wash, and then your outer clothes you spot cleaned or didn't wash very often if you could avoid it, because doing the laundry was an extremely difficult task. And so if you could limit it to most of the laundry that you would do would be basically your undergarments, and having, like, you know, full length, you know, sort of undergarments that covered most of your body under your clothes meant that your outer clothes didn't really get dirty in the same way as, you know, just sort of like the t-shirt that I'm wearing would. Because doing laundry was really hard work. You know, they didn't have the same, like, detergents or indeed, like, agitation methods that we have with modern washing machines and modern detergents. They had soap and, you know, potentially very hot water that was really uncomfortable to work with, and you'd have to, like, hand starch things and, you know, all this stuff, and it's just, it's a lot of labor. It would take hours by hand. There were people employed to just do this all day, every day. Sucked. But yeah, anyways. Soodle says, my AC was fixed this Pride Month. Yay, it's a Pride Month miracle. Congratulations. Also, happy Disability Pride Month, everybody. To all of my disabled friends, and especially my disabled queer friends, happy Disability Pride Month. I love you. Zoodle says, it taught me something very important about my local HVAC places. I hope that it went well. I'm glad that it did. And I hope you're well. Welcome in. Alco's gone up to look at the Mechanical Turk. Oh, man. That is a thing that I know about and don't remember enough to say off the top of my head. Anyways, Freddie says, I switched to Ellipsis from Google Doc for writing, and they sent out a newsletter with updates, as programs do, and they explicitly said they were working on implementing more person-driven updates to help people edit their work written by people, and I cannot explain how happy that made me. Just knowing they are still out there in the programming world, not the non-AI believers. But I'm feeling our numbers are dwindling. We still exist. We still exist. And I think that at some point there's going to be enough of like a critical fail that maybe people will start to realize that it's bad. But yeah. 1770 says Alec. Well, yeah. A bit earlier. But it might indicate that they had to look out for scams. Yeah. AI scams. Yeah. Oh yeah. The was it that one that's like the chess player that actually just had like a chess player hiding in a box under it? That they had like played, you know, it was like the 18th century. Is it that one? Is it that one, or is that one another one? Because, you know, like back in the I want to say like the 80s, there was the chess champion who went up against like a computer in a chess match. I saw a one-act play about it once that was very good. But like that, but it was, you know, like an automaton from, you know, like the 18th century that supposedly could like think up chess moves and that kind of thing and beat a chess champion, but it turns out that there was just a guy hiding underneath the thing and like dictating what to make it do. Like it was just a fancy puppet. Yeah, says Alco. Okay, it was that one. It was a complicated box, but yeah, there was definitely some like mechanical sophistication going on there, but it wasn't an automaton that could like actually play a game of chess against you. It was a thing that someone hiding in the background was telling it what to do very explicitly, like move this thing to that, whatever. Soodle says, my dad fixed it. Oh, that's nice. Thank you, Soodle dad. And he told me this, the local HVAC places are not your friend. Oh no. Oh no. Is that the kind of deal where they will try and like upsell you on something more expensive than you need or something like that? Because yeah, that always worries me, especially when it comes to things that I'm not an expert in, that I'm kind of having to trust somebody else on. I'm like, am I getting the best advice? I don't know. Yes, that is what happened. Yeah. You are you know, when you... It is so good when you find, like, a good contractor to do a thing, like, for your house or whatever it may be. Because you are putting a lot, and it's usually reasonably expensive to begin with, into the hands of someone that you just, most of the time, kind of have to trust, knows what they're talking about, and knows what they're doing. I know someone who basically got scammed by someone who's supposed to be doing their roof. They ended up getting scammed out of, I think, like, it was thousands of pounds. And then, you know, they kind of just, you know, filed that away as like a significant financial loss for the next little while and a lesson learned. And then a couple years later, there's a news story about a golden toilet that was stolen from Blenheim Palace, which is a historical site, a palace, believe it or not, I think it's in Oxfordshire. It's accessible by bus from Oxford, at least. And one of the people responsible for stealing it, who was arrested for stealing the golden toilet, was the builder that scammed do his roof, and I just thought, like, oh my god. Oh my god. Genuinely, the amount of trust that you have to put in someone that you're hiring to do a job like that they're not going to be someone who will go on to try and, like, steal gold from a national historical site. Oh no, Soodle Noop says, we opened it up, someone last year fixed it, and their wiring was actual diarrhea work. Oh no! Also, Soodle Noop says, well, that was a shitty situation for all involved. Yep, absolutely. Katie said, I had a fist fight with my household thermostat recently. Oh my god, not looking forward to further HVAC problems. I hope everything is okay. Yeah, Freddie, thank you very much for the 25 stream steak. Thank you, much appreciated. Yes, it's like, so, my parents' house was built in, like, 1990, 1991, somewhere around that region. We moved in 1991. And it seemed like a perfectly cromulent house on the surface when we moved in. And then every single time, whilst I was living there, every single time my parents had a contractor in or a plumber in to do repairs or someone to, you know, like, install a new blah, 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 every single time that I was there and there was a contractor speaking to a parent about what they're doing and what they've had to do and, you know, the situation, blah, 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 every single time, I swear to gosh, that contractor would say, yeah, so I noticed that there was, like, that this was the case, and yeah, the builders really shouldn't have done that. It's supposed to be like this. Every single time. Every single time, like, the plumber would come and be like, yeah, I don't understand why it's plumbed in this way. They really shouldn't have done that. It's supposed to be like that. It's like, how is that house functional at all? I don't know. So Donald wants to know, what would you even do with a golden toilet? If I had to guess, probably just, like, melt it down for the constituent gold and then try and sell that off for money. Because I don't think, if you tried to just pawn off a full-on golden toilet, I think they'd be like, just out of curiosity, where the hell did you get this? Look the guy in the eye and say, I want to sell this to you for more than $10. Yup. Freddie says, we have the best plumber and I love him for it, and I'm so happy I have him. Say you're middle-aged without saying you're middle-aged. I mean, that is a blessing. That's lovely. I love that for you. Insert screaming here. Oh god, what have I done? Oh no. Anyways, I've brought up my reference. This is the cottage that I'm painting in. So I think the base of it is mainly this, and I'll probably use a slightly darker paint. I might bring in my gouache set to do the line work for this. And the sort of, like, topmost details, just because it should layer very well. But in the meantime, I'm gonna actually do a bit of painting before we get chucked into ads, which we might in maybe like 5 minutes. I'm not sure when they're gonna try to run, but I want to have done something within the first hour of stream, because it feels really good when I'm able to do that. But oh my days. Such interesting times. Oh, this is actually a little bit pinker than I was expecting. Ah, shoot. Well, you know what? It doesn't matter if it's 100% perfect. Maybe the lighting is just a little bit different on this day. That's fine. Maybe they've repainted the outside of their cottage and it's a slightly different hue. That's also fine. Everything's... Don't worry, don't worry. It doesn't need to be exactly the same every time. It is a similar enough vibe. We know where we are. This is obviously the tree. This is obviously the cottage. It's fine. But yeah, anyways. So that's that. I don't know. The 18th century. Washing machines. Doing laundry. I do not hearken back for earlier times of being alive. Because there were things that are worse, you know? I did used to enjoy the excitement of going to the cinema and seeing a superhero movie back in, like, the 20-teens. And then that stopped being good. So So I do miss that kind of, but also, you know, the last couple times my partner and I went to the cinema, we had, they also didn't have Deltarune in the 19th century. Oh, you must have been miserable. I would be fine. I have experienced none of this, but I hope you're enjoying it. I hope you're having a good time with it. What have I been enjoying lately? I have been very slowly when I'm on my own in the studio and I don't have a stream on in the background. I lurk in a lot of streams and don't chat much, and I feel bad for not chatting more. But sometimes I also feel like I have to be slightly disciplined, and if I pop into chat, I'm not going to get any work done, so I'm just going to listen. And also sometimes I'm shy and am chatted out from doing my own thing. But yeah, what would I miss in the 19th century? I mean, my phone, honestly, like my phone, my partner, progressive rock music, Star Trek, most of it. I've been, on and off, getting through the first season of Star Trek Academy. I watched the first few episodes as, like, in-flights, on my way to and from Toronto, and really enjoyed it. And I've watched, I think, I'm, like, halfway through episode 7. I don't want to say what happens in it, just in case it's, like, a spoiler, but it's the one that starts with they're all going on holiday. So if you know the show, then you know that episode. Yeah, so it only says the era before Tricky T invented music in 2015. I have no idea what you're talking about, but I'll take your word for it. And I love that for you. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I don't know, music as far as my enjoyment goes was invented in I don't know, what's the earliest music I'm known to listen to? Oh man, there was this like compilation CD. I wish I could remember the name of it. It's probably super out of print. But one of the songs on this album was the only piece of like popular folk music, as I would best describe it, in Latin. And generally I think we tend to experience Latin as a language in the modern age as being this very, like, serious, it's serious classical literature, that kind of thing. And this was just a sprightly little piece of folk music, you know? And it was so cute, but it was in Latin, and I loved it. It was super good. Undertale. Oh yes, I have played Undertale, many, many moons ago. And there's I think some of the music in it is really, really good. I agree. I like just the, like, you're walking around and there's, just, music happening around you. It said, okay, my bot has said that an ad break is starting soon, but the little green thing that tells me that an ad is about to run hasn't appeared, but it looks like there's going to be an ad running in like 20 seconds, so I'm gonna have to go on BRB because I don't want y'all to miss anything. You're not gonna be able to hear me if ads are running, so I will catch up with chat in just a minute. BRB, everybody. I hope you don't have to see ads, but if you do, I'm sorry. Enjoy the BRB screen. BRB! Hey friends, I'm back. Thank you for sticking around. Lovely to see you. Hello again. You complete and utter dingbat. I showed the clip to my moderator / spouse while we were on ad break. Because it's just so darn silly. Anyways. Okay, so we have some updates in the chat. I will catch up. Al Cool says, my date friend and I finished Once Upon a Time. It took just 3 years. Well, that was quite a few seasons of television, wasn't it? And you've moved on to Hilda. And so far, he likes it on episode 3. Oh, that's awesome. I don't know if there's more than one season of the show, but I did see the first season of the show, and I really liked it. I thought it was an absolute damn delight. A good show. I thought the aesthetically delightful and the story was really lovely. Also, the Carmina Burana are drinking songs. Oh my god, that slaps. Seriously? I love that. Thank you for the random fact. That's wonderful. That's so good to know. You know, yeah, that's a good vibe. Anyways. Freddie says my spouse wants to know where the BRB music is from. He recognizes it but can't place it. It is, so it is a piece of, technically it's all of the music on my streams, notwithstanding alerts, are stock music. This piece of stock music is the Rose and the Thorn by Johannes Bornlif. There is an umlaut over the O, but I can't do that easily on this keyboard. But yes, that is the artist and the track name. In case you wanted to like YouTube it or whatever, I'm sure it's on there. And I picked it for my BRB music because I think it's very chill and calming and pleasant. Hilda has 3 seasons. I thought there was more than 1 season, but I wasn't sure how many. 3 seasons and a movie between seasons 2 and 3. Oh, between them. Interesting. I'm pretty sure it's also on a streaming service that I no longer have. So it might be a while before I see it, but I should add it back to the list because I did really enjoy the first season. Thank you. Netflix, yeah. I had Netflix for years and then realized that we really weren't watching much on Netflix. Like, not enough to justify however much the like, monthly fees were, so we canceled it. Which now just means there's a lot of TV that I don't watch. But that's the thing about the streaming service. I've complained about this before, but, like, because of the number of streaming services that exist, if you have, like, one show that you want to watch on this streaming service, and one show that you want to watch on this streaming service, and one show on this one, yada, 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 either you end up paying, frankly, a substantial chunk of change to be able to watch all of your stories, or you gotta kind of pick and choose which stories you actually are going to watch. Or you sail the 7 seas, but obviously I would not ever condone doing this, because it is, no, technically. And as a conservator of media and a former library person, I definitely would never make an ethical case for, downloading any media that you want to not see become lost media. I would never advocate for such a thing. Anyways, he says thanks. He thought it was something else, but he's glad to know. Yeah, I think it's got a similar vibe to some other things, so I'm not surprised. I think that's probably part of the reason that I liked it. It's got a nice vibe. Owl Quill says, when I first got Netflix, a few months later, a lot of what I signed up for got pulled because Disney wanted their own streaming service. Yep, absolutely. I remember I think I'd started watching, like, Stargate or something like that was on it, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna watch through Stargate. I haven't seen that in forever. And I was, like, 2 episodes in, and it disappeared. I was like, oh. Well, never mind. Damn it! Actually, the reason that I got Netflix to begin with when I originally did, which was back in 2013 or early 2014, I can't remember, one of the two, I had a migraine that basically put me out of commission for a week. I spent most of a week in my bed, in the dark, and I was just suffering, and all I wanted was just to have Star Trek The Next Generation on in the background, because it is, like a comfort media for me, right? And I was like, and a friend of mine messaged me and was like, Star Trek The Next Generation's on Netflix. You can sign up for a 30-day free trial and then just cancel before they bill you. And I was like, oh, that's brilliant. I will just sign up for the 30-day free trial and then cancel before they bill me. And then I proceeded to have Netflix for 10 years. And every once in a while I'd get an email to say that they're putting their prices up by £1, and I'd be like, man, if I'm spending this much per month on Netflix, maybe I should actually start watching Netflix. And then I didn't. There was like a month where I canceled it right after the payment went out, so I had like a month to watch whatever I wanted before, they pulled the plug. And I binged a bunch of stuff that I could find that I liked. That was another thing that I don't know whether or not Netflix is better now. for this, but I found it really hard to just like search for stuff and find stuff that I was, even stuff that I was pretty sure was on there. I had a hard time finding a lot of the time. I'd keep just seeing the same lists of things over and over and over again, and not any of the things that I actually wanted to see. I'm like, I know there's a wealth of content on here, but you're not letting me browse it. You're just showing me the same 12 things over and over again and just putting them into multiple categories. It's like, no wonder, like, oh, there was, an animated program called Tuca and Birdie that was canceled after its first season. I think it might have eventually been brought back for a second season after it had been originally canceled, because people were like, what the hell? I didn't even know this existed. It was so good, right? And so I didn't actually watch the first season of that show until after it had been canceled. Because the only reason that I knew that it was on Netflix was hearing about people who were disappointed that it was canceled. Because they never let me, even though it was very much in a similar vein to a lot of stuff that I would have seen, they were never like, hey, you should watch this. Or had it in any lists where I would have been able to find it. Which is really frustrating. But yeah, it's just, and I think also there was, at some point, Over the Garden Wall used to be on Netflix, and then it left Netflix. And that was like, well, what even the point? What even is the point if I can't have my little October watch of Over the Garden Wall on Netflix? I ended up, I just own it now, so I could just watch it whenever I want. But yeah, Alquil says, when I first got Netflix, a few months later, Disney were starting their own streaming service, a bunch of stuff got pulled. Yep. Pirating abandoned video games isn't as bad as pirating, say, the most recent blockbuster film, says Katie. I mean, if I'm gonna be genuinely honest with you, yeah, if something is out of print, I think it's entirely fine to just download it. If someone has made, say, like a PDF of an extremely out-of-print book by an extremely dead author available to download, I don't think there's anything morally wrong with doing that. Because how else are you going to be able to access this? And I don't think that we should be able to say, you can never access this thing. We will not give you any, like, legal means of accessing this, you know, like, piece of media. But you can't have it via any other means either. I think, anyways. Back when I lived in Canada, every once in a while, like, a film or a TV program would release that was made in the UK and not released in, like, because, you know, like, DVDs come in region formats, or at least they did back then. I would purchase the DVD release of this film because I wanted to support the filmmakers, but I can't play it on any of my machines. So I would then have to go and also find someone who had kindly placed, you know, sort of a rip of it onto Google Drive and watch it that way. Because it was otherwise not accessible to me, you know? I think things are somewhat better for that these days, but yeah, like, eh. But yes, I agree. Like, pay creators wherever you can, but if it's an out-of-print book of poetry by an author that's been dead since the 1980s, like, who cares? Who cares? You know? Just, honestly, like, when I was a student, I would take out-of-print books from the library. Wait for it. I would take out-of-print books from the library, and if it was a small enough book, I would just, like, make photocopies of the whole book and have a copy of the book. Was it expensive? Yes, but all of the money went to the library, so I figure that that's, you know, good as well. But yeah, I did that a few times because I was like, I'm going to need this for longer than the library is going to allow me to have it for, like, research purposes, and I am not able to purchase a copy of this for less than 3 figures, and I am a student. I am spending $20 to photocopy this whole ass book. I don't know if I shouldn't be admitting that. Anyways. Moriak says they took one of the best Netflix originals off the service due to some rights issue with DreamWorks, and now it's available nowhere legally, and I really want to rewatch it. That is so frustrating. The fact that stuff can just disappear, and you are just not able to see it at all from anywhere, especially because, you know, less things are getting actual, like, physical releases, and indeed, if it's on streaming, it might also not have, like, just a just like an iTunes-y type downloadable release either, where you can just buy it. It's just gone, and it's not gone for any good reason other than just, like, legalities of whatever the heck. Which, I guess, you know, like, I understand is a legitimate reason, in terms of, like, if it's a licensing issue, you might, you know, sort of be complications with regard to who's getting royalties for this, that kind of thing. But, woof. Anyways, that's really frustrating. I'm so sorry. Freddie says, Netflix sometimes randomly pulls things. I was rewatching the OG Hunger Games movies, and I came back to movie 4. They pulled movie 4, and then a week later it was back. What? What? This just all makes me want to advocate harder for, like, physical media. I don't know if any of y'all remember, but the BBC attempted to launch this service, which on the surface seemed quite cool in many ways. It was the ability to, like, basically purchase a huge, vast back catalog of stuff from the BBC's, like, program archives. Way more substantial and wide-reaching than would normally be available on, like, general, like, DVD home video releases, or, you know, like, for download on iTunes, or indeed for streaming on iPlayer, right? So, very exciting that you could potentially download any of the stuff from their massive archives of, like, you know, if you just want to see, like, every episode of Morecambe and Wise show or whatever, you could just do that, right? Super cool stuff. Except they placed limitations on it that were quite frustrating, in as much as, okay, you bought the thing, but it's another one of those, you bought it, but you don't really own it. You didn't buy it in as much as you download a video file that you can then play, transfer to whatever device you want, and, you know, like, stick it on your phone, stick it on your iPad, take it with you on holiday, blah, 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 blah. No, it only worked through their, like, bespoke app or software or whatever it was on, like, your computer. So it's not like you could just download a bunch of them to, like, an external hard drive and then just, like, plug it into your TV and just watch it on your TV or whatever. No, you could watch it on this, like, one bespoke video player. It was very, like, CDs from, like, the early 2000s that were trying to get you not to, like, burn them, you know? But also, the service shut down after a few months. And people were like, hello? Because the service shut down, that also meant that anyone who outright purchased any of the stuff from that archive was no longer able to watch the stuff that they'd purchased. Does this sound familiar at all? I wonder. Is this relevant to any discussions in any other media-related industries lately? I don't know. People were incensed. They all got refunds, I believe. But the refunds were somewhat hard-won. Which is, frankly, shitty. I don't see a reason why. Like, let's be real. So you have perfectly good resolution copies of, let's say, Morecambe and Wise. In all of its glory, all of the episodes of the whatever, right? Why not just let people download them? Why not, like just purchase them and download them and then own those video files that they can just do whatever they want with, you know? They can put them onto whatever devices they want. They can do whatever. Like, you are at, like... the BBC, you are making currently zero money off of your archive. You could be making probably not very much, because most of this stuff is only really interesting to, like, you know, neurodivergent nerds who really love old television, but you could be making a small amount of money and putting that toward, you know, budgets for other things within that branch of your organization. It just seems like kind of a no-brainer to me to just do that. Maybe the cost of somehow, like, allowing these things to be purchasable and downloadable would outweigh the actual amount of money that they make back from it. I don't know. But is that not a better solution than the, like, you have to download a bespoke video player to watch the things that you've purchased and you don't technically own them, and then we shut down the service after 6 months and have to refund everyone the money they paid us? Because that didn't make you any money, BBC. What the nuts are you doing? It was stupid. Anyways. Let's get back to it. Checking in with chat. Katie says, I'm sure the statute of limitations is more than expired on the photocopy thing. Oh, absolutely. I mean, again, like, if it's, you know, certain things are out of copyright. There's nothing, you know, to stop any individual, say, from, like, you know, like, publishing, say, like, a reprint of a book that came out in, like, the 11th century. You know, yeah, you can probably just do that. I think where it comes into question is if you are taking someone else's scans of a book from the 11th century and then just, like, printing those. I mean, that's going to be a very poor quality book to begin with. But then you are technically those people owned the scans. It's confusing. But I'm fairly sure that's the case. I've had issues with, I am also very pro physical media. I think it's great. Because if you go to Waterstones and you purchase a book, you just own that book. I've had this issue before with, like, images from, so for my YouTube channel, I have a YouTube channel, by the way. I am hopefully genuinely finishing a new video very, very soon. It's going to be really hot this week, but I'm going to endeavor to finish filming anyways. And just potentially be sweaty on camera. We shall see. I think the scan thing even varies by country, says Alcool. You're probably right. I would always personally take a risk-averse approach to these kinds of things and just not mess with it. But certain things, like when I've been doing research for, you know, sort of the history portions of my videos, I've had to sometimes be careful with, like, sometimes, like, a museum will be like, hey, you can't download a JPEG of this painting that we have in our collection. Or, like, you have to pay to download a JPEG of this photo of this, like, painting that we have in our collection. And I'm like, okay, but you, and I guess the justification for that is that they, you know, like, took a high-res photo of the painting or a high-res scan of the painting and posted that online, because obviously they can't be claiming that they own the copyright to something that was painted in the 1700s, because that's nonsense. But also, I'm not necessarily able to travel to a museum in New York City and take a phone photo of a painting myself. I did once travel to a museum in Oxford and take a selfie with a painting because I found out that a painting I was using in my research was actually in the Ashmolean, which was in Oxford City Centre. That was really fun. Please watch that video. It's the video about soap. And on my Patreon there is a video that is just me visiting the museum, like, just me documenting my visit to the museum, which was very fun. But yeah. Alquill says, if I were writing copyright laws, you can copyright scans or simple reproductive photos of public domain things. I agree. I think that if you're if you have scanned, like, you know, like a 17th century recipe book and you're trying to prohibit people from being able to use that text or to view that text without giving you money, I'm like, if you have reprinted it and bound it and published it as a physical book, okay, you've put in a significant amount of work and that costs money. And you might have even written a foreword to the book, sort of talking about the historical context of it, which would be cool as hell. But if you've just put up scans of an old book, I feel like that's something that you should be doing for the purpose of media preservation and not for the purpose of not being able to tell people that they can, like, cite it in, like, their videos, personally. I think that's mean, personally. Or, like, they should be allowed to freaking print it out or whatever. I love the Internet Archive, by the way. It's great. There's some fabulous old books on there. Incredibly useful. I've used it many a time for old book content, including things that would have cost me a substantial chunk of change if I were to have to purchase a copy of them secondhand because they're centuries old. Woof. Anyways, but yeah. Anyways, so that's that. Gotta scan the books yourself, says Alquil. Yeah, that's definitely super accessible to everybody. Speaking of, there are some things that some resources that I've been able to access for like my research for videos because I have an institutional affiliation. And it does kind of frustrate me that I'm like, you should be able to look this stuff up if you aren't like a university student, researcher, or staff member. This should be stuff people should be able to easily look up without having to be part of the academy, you know? Like, I don't know. I think that's rough. Especially it's the kind of stuff that's like, it's somewhat of an obscure enough like dictionary or whatever that it's not going to be at the library. And it's not even stuff that you can pay for. It's just that you have to like have an affiliation to access it. And I'm like, come on, man. Why? No. Stop gatekeeping this. Stupid. I say that because there will come some point in my future where I no longer have an institutional affiliation, I am sure. And at that point, I'm going to be significantly more hamstrung in my research efforts because there's going to be stuff that I'm just not going to be able to access online. Because you need, like, your university SSO. Anyways, Alquil says the idea of copyright was to encourage people to create culture because they would be paid for it. The way it is now, it is locking away culture because it lasts too long. States should make stuff available after they enter the public domain. Yes! Oh my god. Public domain is such an interesting question, an interesting thing, and the regionality of public domain is also really confusing and weird because things that come into the like time limit on public domain is different depending on like what country you're in. So if you're in, I can't remember the US or the UK is longer. I don't remember. But it is in many cases like a stupid amount of time longer than like, frankly, the creator is dead. And then you have to wait decades after the creator has died for it to like pass into the public domain, that kind of thing. Which just feels silly to me. And it's part of the reason that you see certain things like when certain like, you know, storybook characters and that kind of thing drop into the public domain, that you start seeing like a bunch of like that year, a bunch of low budget horror films starring that character or something quite similar to that character suddenly all emerge at once. Most of them are probably not very good. But yeah, oh, Disney. Disney has a lot to answer for. 100%. Most places are death of creator plus 70 years. I think Mexico has death plus 100 years. Damn, 100 years. 100 years. Imagine being able to draw a royalty check for your works as a ghost. That must be super nice. I mean, I understand that's probably like for their estate or their families or whatever, but like there comes a certain point at which it's kind of like, okay, that's probably enough. I do always enjoy looking at sort of notable entries on Public Domain Day. I'm not going to do anything with this. I'm not going to go out and be like, I'm going to make the most like inappropriate fan arts that I can of this thing that's just become public domain because suddenly I can't be bothered. But sometimes I think it's quite interesting. Then there's a lot of stuff that it feels like has existed for a really, really long time, and yet somehow like you will still get slapped with a cease and desist if you attempt to like put a fan art of it on Redbubble, that kind of thing, you know? I think it's one of those things that I think also gets kind of complicated when it comes to like, I want to say like film adaptations of very, very old books, that kind of thing. Because it's like, if I make a fan art of a book that's like 200 years old, that's not under copyright anymore. Unless the author's a vampire, that's not under copyright anymore. I can make fan art of the characters out of that book. But I guess a film studio could come along and be like, that looks a lot like the characters from our movie that we made of that book. So we're going to ask you to cease and desist. Like, you know, and as the little guy, it's always going to be hard to kind of defense against that, right? Anyways, I could see death plus 20 years as defensible. Yeah, I feel like certainly you should be able to hold the copyright to whatever you create at least as long as you're alive. For sure, 100%. As a creator, I do not want people out there making money off of, like, my gay hamsters. I am just a little creature who barely makes money off of their gay hamsters myself. I have a shop, by the way. I updated it with a couple of new little pieces recently. Here's a link. Anyways, but, yeah, death plus 20 years I think is fine. Especially, yeah, to help any possibly young children into adulthood. Yeah, absolutely. Like, you know, let those royalties of a recently deceased creator put their kids or grandkids through, like, university. I'm here for it. That's rad. But, like, their distant descendants, and there are some situations where you have, like, interesting, you have interesting, like, when the families of a deceased creator disagree with each other on certain things. I'm thinking specifically, I don't know a lot about the details of this, but, and this is a much more recent case because this person died in the early 80s, but Stan Rogers was a Canadian musician, and he was very beloved, remains very, very beloved as a Canadian musician. And his wife is very much the kind of champion of the legacy and life and work of her late husband, Stan. She's still, as far as I'm aware, alive and well. He has a son who's also gone into being a musician, and he also had a brother who actually played music with him when he was alive, and still plays music now. He also, by the way, he died quite young. He was in, like, his early 30s. It was a plane crash. It was tragic. But as far as I'm aware, there has been some kind of bad blood / disagreement between Stan Rogers' widow and Stan Rogers' brother, which means that Stan Rogers' brother, whose name I forget, I'm sorry, other Rogers, I was gonna say Mr. Rogers, but it's not Fred Rogers, aka TV's Mr. Rogers. It's a Canadian man with the same surname. But as far as I'm aware, he's not actually allowed to play any of his brother's music when he performs live, even though he used to perform with his brother, like, in his brother's band. Because there was some kind of disagreement or, you know, like, bad blood or schism or whatever between this guy and his sister-in-law, which is wild. I don't know what went on there. It's none of my beeswax, and I'm not parasocial enough about the guy who wrote Northwest Passage to look into it, but yeah, so that's a thing. Sometimes the estates of these people get weird. Yes, anyways, catching up with chat, because, Katie says Winnie the Pooh hit public domain, and that horror movie Blood and Honey came out the same year. Yeah! Exactly that, exactly. It's like, ooh, something's in public domain, let's make a horror movie, and you know what, I get it, like, cute kids media is a ripe territory for making horror content. Is that my favorite kind of thing? Absolutely not. I don't generally like horror things to begin with. There's a few movies that I'd classify as horror that I do really like. I liked Cube. Would you call Cube a horror movie? I don't know. I think Cube is a very Canadian movie, by the way. I liked Cube. But yeah, oh man, that's old. That's so old now. If you want to adapt Wizard of Oz again, you must use silver slippers, not red ones. Oh, yes, that's another one. Thank you, Alquil. If you want to adapt Wizard of Oz, you must use silver slippers, not red ones, because the red ones are from the movie, and the movie is still in copyright. Yes, exactly, yes. You have to be very clear that you are adapting the, like, literary work from L. Frank Baum, and not the film with Judy Garland, etc., etc. Because one of them is, yeah, you could get in lots of trouble. Anyways, Pigeon says, "Wee! Hi, Pigeon! I don't think my streak shared the first time. Well, thank you very much for the 3-stream steak. Appreciate it." Alquil says, "Northwest Passage, Barrett's Privateers. Hell yeah!" The latter of which has very much been an earworm for me recently. It's just like rolling around in my head. I'm just like dooting around in the kitchen singing, "I wish I was in Sherbrooke now." Ha, I was told we'd cruise the seas for American gold. We'd fire no guns, shed no tears. Now I'm a broken man on a Halifax pier, the last of Barrett's privateers. I love that song. It's so good. Oh my god, Cube is from 1997. This is almost 30 years ago. I feel incredibly old. Thank you. Sci-fi horror. Thank you. I thought so. Garnet Rogers. Thank you, Katie. That's it. Garnet Rogers. I knew he had an unusual first name. Garnet Rogers. Thank you. Anyways, but yeah, there was some kind of something going on there. Anywho. But yeah, if you haven't seen Cube, I really liked Cube. It doesn't really match with the whimsical aesthetic of like the kind of art that I do here on stream, but I really liked Cube. If you want to feel stressed while watching a movie, but in a fun way, I recommend watching Cube. It's fun. But in a way that makes you feel stressed and uncomfortable, like, the entire time. But, like, in a fun way. You can see how low budget it is, but, again, I think it's so effective for how low budget it is. I have enough stress IRL, says Pigeon. That's part of the reason I don't normally watch horror movies. It's like, I'm scared all the time about just, like, the general state of the world, the climate, the country I live in, the late stage capitalism of it all. I don't need to go to a cinema and then be scared some more. No thank you. Not fun for me. I had to, critically acclaimed TV series that everyone seems to like, The Pit. I started watching it as an in-flight, on the way back from Canada, back at the end of May. And I stopped watching it. Because nobody told me there was that much, like, surgical gore. I was used to, like, 90s ER levels of, like, seeing medical stuff on camera, which, honestly, was fine. This was graphic. So I switched to watching the TV show Barry instead, because I just kept seeing things about, like, the middle-aged guy with a beard looking tired, and like, the students, who is the one who, I'm pretty sure I've seen her in something else, she's good, and then, like, another girl who looks nervous, and a guy who I saw described online as looking like a wet weasel, and I agree. And I'm like, yeah, I think these characters look like a fun set of characters. I want to explore their world. I got, like, 15 minutes into the first episode, and I'm like, nope! Nope. I will enjoy the version of this show that exists purely in the GIFs I see on Tumblr, which are all just, like, interesting character moments, and let that be it. That's also the way that I enjoy Interview with the Vampire, by the way. I know I would not like this show, but I like the version of it that exists in Tumblr GIFs on my feed, which is just mostly the really intense dude. I don't know how else to describe him. He's got kind of, like, wavy dark hair, and he looks really intense and kind of creepy. And he looks like he's, like, 24, but he's actually 500. And then the dude who's, oh god, what's his name? What's the actor's name? I want to say it's Eric Bogosian. Is it Eric Bogosian who's in that show? Anyways, that guy. I want, whatever, I just think that those two should have some kind of, like, ridiculous vampiric cottagecore existence that is nothing like the actual TV show that they're from. So I will never watch it. Sometimes you have to concede that the piece of media that exists purely on Tumblr is the one that you would prefer to the actual media itself. And just not watch the show. And just enjoy, like, other little fluffy little bits of it through osmosis. Anyways, ooh, according to Wikipedia, says Katie, there was a Japanese remake in 2021 of Cube. Sick! That's super cool. I should seek it out. I wonder if it's like also really. It's probably really scary. I'm baby. Anyways, but I'm gonna try and make some brown, I guess. I should probably make some tree trunk brown and actually do a bit more painting before we get into another ad break. what I will say about these paints, that I like working with these paints, but I also don't like working with these paints because they are so, whatever binder is happening in here, they are so dry and chalky, and there's no moisture to these. So as you put a drop of water on it to try and activate the paint, and it just gets sucked in and disappears. Like, they absorb so much water before they actually activate. It's kind of wild. Anyways, but yeah, that was several minutes of embarrassing revelations from me, and media that I will or won't enjoy. Anyways, it's okay to not like things. Also, it's very okay to not like things. It's okay for things not to be for you. For instance, I think I mentioned this before, but actually the thing that I ended up watching instead of The Pit when I was on this in-flight was a show called Barry. I watched there was a long enough flight that I watched the whole first season, and I was awake for most of it too, which I'm very proud of myself about. And I really liked the first season of Barry, and I decided that following on from the ending of the first season, I felt like this show is really good, and I'm really enjoying this show, and I find the characters really interesting and compelling, and I just get a vibe, because of the type of show that it is, that it's going to have a really sad, depressing ending. And so I'm just going to stop here, where most people are not dead, and just kind of leave it at that. I'm okay with stuff, and that feels like growth to me, because I used to be, like, quite a completionist. Even if I started watching a show that I didn't even like, I'd be like, well, I've got to see it through to the end, because maybe it gets better as you go along. That's often the thing that people say about TV shows. It's just like, oh, you didn't, it's like you stopped watching after 3 episodes, you didn't give it a fair chance. It doesn't start picking up until episode 5. It's like, okay. But if I keep watching it having really not enjoyed the first 3 episodes, it's starting to feel less like entertainment and more like homework. It's okay at that point to dip out and say, this is not for me. Like, that's allowed. You might be missing out on the greatest entertainment of your life. You don't know. But it's also okay to not find out. Like, that's fine, actually. You're not under any obligation to, consume every piece of media to ever exist. Just because you feel like you're supposed to. That's goofy. Don't do that to yourself. Don't you do it. I'm actually, you know what? I'm just gonna pick up a little bit of this gold, because I feel like I'm really struggling to make a brown out of all this. I feel like maybe a bit of gold will help to kind of back it up a bit. Anyways, but yeah, like, there are things that I get recommended, and I'm just like, thank you, but then secretly I think to myself, I don't think it's for me, and that's fine. What's it called? And again, like, I'm very happy for you if you really liked this, but I didn't feel like it was for me, even though it was recommended to me by, like, someone who is a lot less online than I am. So I had actually heard of it. It was the Digital Circus show. And I got recommended this by someone who was like, I think you'd really, really like this. And I was like, I don't. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll check it out. Thanks. And I did not check it out because I am firmly of the opinion that I do not think that it's something that I would vibe with. And that's fine. It's okay to just not watch things. It's okay to not like stuff if you don't think that they're for you. That's fine. There's a lot of stuff that oh no. Well, the camera's carked it. The camera is protesting. Maybe the camera thinks I should watch Digital Circus. The Amazing Digital Circus. Yeah. It just very recently ended, I believe. No spoilies for people who are thinking of watching it. Just because it isn't my vibe doesn't mean it won't be your vibe. So, by all means. Maybe be careful engaging with the fandom, because it feels like the kind of thing that has a pretty intense fandom in some corners, and, I don't know, fandoms can get scary. I say this as someone who is a Trekkie, so, and used to be a Whovian, so, Anyways, Freddie says I have a really hard time with endings, and I mostly don't see the last season of series. I'll look up what happens, and I'll know, but my neurospicy brain doesn't, watch end seasons, and I've made peace with that. That's totally fair. Sometimes I think the ending just kind of, it's hard, it's hard to watch something you love not stick the landing, if that makes sense. Also, I think, no, it's not back. Come on back. I'm waiting for the camera to come back. Yeah, it's hard watching something that you really love not stick the landing. Sometimes, honestly, I know that, like, a lot of people are very averse to spoilers, but sometimes I'm okay with just looking up how a thing ends, especially if the thing is, like, completed. And deciding for myself whether or not I want to subject myself to it. But also, there were a couple of cases where I did end up watching the final episode or the final season of a thing, but I put it off for a really long time just because I wasn't ready to say goodbye to the characters. I'm thinking specifically of, I don't know if this is embarrassing, but I spent like a month putting off, I was watching through all of Doctor Who, like, chronologically from, like, November 1963 through to, I think, somewhere in, like, Matt Smith's run at the time. I think it was when Amy Pond was still the companion. So, this was quite a long time ago now. But I was watching through all of the episodes in sequence. I stopped for a month of my watch through before watching the last story that the second Doctor was in, just because I liked him as, like, an actor, and I liked the companion characters that he had, Jamie and Zoe. I thought they were so cute and so charming. Just a couple little dudes. One was from the distant past, one was from the distant future. I thought that was really fun. And I didn't want to say goodbye. I wasn't ready to say goodbye, so I put it off for, like, weeks and weeks. I did eventually watch it. I just didn't want to do it because I knew that, you know. And then I was introduced to John Pertwee's Doctor Who, and I was like, "Aw, shit, I should have watched this earlier. This guy rocks." He's got a snake tattoo and everything. Yes. Anyways. I have no spoilers to give, says Katie, just that the film exists. Yeah, it was just like a piece of independent animation on YouTube that got so popular that its, like, finale film thing got a theatrical release, which is really impressive and cool. And I love that for them. Owl Quill says, I watched Supernatural to the end, mostly for the WTF factor. Got into it because I liked Buffy, and this is the closest thing I could find. Yeah, it's kind of in a similar genre to the Buffy show, I think. I never watched it. I haven't seen a single episode of Supernatural. I had many friends try. Again, this is something I was recommended by so many friends prior to the final episode airing, obviously. I was recommended by so many friends, and I was just like, I love that for you. I don't think it's for me. And so I just didn't watch it. And I feel, knowing how the show ends, I feel very justified in having not watched it. I'm so sorry for anyone who knew and loved those characters and had to watch that being the ending. I mean, obviously, I think I'm sure that the final couple of episodes were severely hampered by trying to film during COVID and having, like, heavy restrictions in terms of, like, actor availability and the number of people they could have on set and that kind of thing. And possibly having had a better ending planned that they just weren't able to actually realize because of the limitations placed on them because COVID. I don't know. They might not have had an ending in mind at all and just been like, oh damn, we've got to write something. We have to do something to end this stupid show. What do we do? And came up with just, like, the worst thing I've ever heard in my entire life. I won't spoil it for anyone who might watch it, except for the fact that it sounds really bad. I'm so sorry to people who loved that show. I know it was very beloved by a lot of people. And woof. I'm so sorry. I think it's one of those interesting cases also, though, where, like, it got really popular as, like, a fandom thing for mostly... it was intended, I believe, to be a show that was going to be one of these sort of, like, you know, fantasy adventure type shows, like But, you know, for, like, guys, it's starring, like, 2 guys in their sports car and blah, blah, blah. And then it ended up being really, really popular with, like, teenage girls and, you know, like, queer people who shipped the one guy and then, like, their friend who's an angel or something. Not Angel from Buffy, he's an angel, not the guy with that name. But, yeah. That's gotta be an interesting thing where your intended audience and your actual audience end up being, like, completely different groups of people. And I think the best thing you can do as a creator probably in that case is to be like, great, we're glad you like it. And not be like, oh no, we hate that the wrong people like our show. Except, I say that out loud, and then I remember how the My Little Pony show from, like, the late 2000s/early 2010s did kind of lean into the fact that it was intended for, like, 10 to 12-year-olds, but had a large fan base of, like, adult men, and did end up kind of doing things that were, like, nods to the, like, 29-year-old guys in the audience. It's like, okay, maybe don't do that. This is a kid's show. Maybe don't do that so much. I don't know. Anyways. Katie says on Tumblr it ended up as part of the super fandom. Oh god, I remember Super Hulock from the early 2010s. That was a moment on Tumblr where, like, everyone was a fan of Supernatural, Doctor Who, and Sherlock. Despite the fact that these 3 shows were very different shows, but they attracted a similar overlapping audience, I guess. I only liked 1 out of the 3 of those shows, which is the Doctor Who. So all of this other stuff just kind of washed over me. I did not think Sherlock was very good. I'm sorry. And, I never saw Supernatural. So, yeah. I never watched the last episode of Sherlock. But I remember, oh my god, y'all, sorry, going off on tangents today, apparently. Oh, My Little Pony, poor choices were made. They sure were. I hope it's okay just for, like, you know, 10-year-old children to just get to enjoy, My Little Pony again now, because I'm pretty sure that most of the people who were in that sort of, like, we love My Little Pony, but we are 30-year-old men kind of crowd, have moved on to other things. My understanding is that a lot of them started out making fun of furries and then just ended up becoming furries. Which, I mean, you know what that is? Growth. Good for them. But yeah, what was I saying? What was my point? Oh yeah, do you remember the conspiracy? Because the final episode of Sherlock was bad. It was just, they did not stick the landing. It was a weird, stupid story. They should have just done Sherlock and Watson solve a mystery and then continue living together forever and having adventures or whatever. Oh no, they're not living together because he got married. Oh no, but she died, didn't she? Is that a spoiler? I don't think it is. That show's been out for a really long time and it's based on books that are even older. But what was I saying? Oh yeah, so the final episode of Sherlock was extremely bad, is my point. I genuinely think they should have just ended with, it's just a mystery and they solve a mystery and they, at the end of it, they have a nice glass of gin or whatever British people like, tea. They have a nice cup of tea at the end and say, well, that was great. Credits roll, and we can just assume that they live happily ever after solving mysteries together or whatever, who cares. Anyways, but yeah, the last episode was so bad that the fans kind of entered a state of collective denial of the fact that this could possibly be the final episode of the show. So they were, like, looking in, like, the TV listings for the same time slot at the following week and being like, the name of the show is an obvious decoy, not an adaptation of a book of the same name starring an actor that, I think it was starring, like, Emily Watson, and they're like, haha, see, Watson's in it. And it's like, no, that's just the name of a British actress. She's just a British actress. She was the sister-in-law of someone who was one of my brother's university professors when he was doing his PhD. Fun fact. Anyways. He did not meet her. But anyways, I'm sure I had a point. But, yeah, it was like... People were so convinced that there was a secret extra episode because the last episode was so bad. And didn't people think that about Stranger Things as well? And I was like, do you all not remember when you thought that about the Sherlock show? Sometimes showrunners just don't know how to end the shows. Sometimes the ending is just dog shit, okay? That's just the fallibility of being a human being who sometimes doesn't know how to do the final and oftentimes most difficult part of a narrative. It's really hard to know how to end things in an impactful way a lot of the time. I felt so bad for them because I was like, of course it's not. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that the thing that you love ended in a really crappy way. And that happens it's not uncommon. We should just be used to it at this point, you know? Anyways, if it happened in the Holmes novels, it can't be a spoiler at this point, says Katie. I feel like the statute of limitations on spoilers for a book that was published 100 some odd years ago is dead. Anyways. Owl Quill says, My Little Pony Friendship is Magic had an episode that was obviously an homage to The Trouble with Tribbles? Oh my god. That's hilarious. And if I remember correctly, it also featured the Bonanza theme. Who is this for? Besides me. And I wasn't watching the show. Anyways, with regard to Sherlock, Owl Quill says, I completely lost any interest in that series after seeing what they did to Irene Adler. They made her such a less interesting character, honestly. A much less interesting character. I feel like a better adaptation, and I know this is just me showing my bias, but a better adaptation of Sherlock Holmes, frankly, is the holodeck episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation, where Geordi and Data dress up as Holmes and Watson and go on little adventures, and they actually accidentally make Moriarty a little bit too smart. It's delightful. Is the controversial ending the one that involves death, says Katie. I don't remember exactly what happened. I mean, somebody dies at some point, I think. But it's and I'm sorry if this is a reveal for something that aired something teen years ago on the BBC, but there's a reveal either in the last episode or just before the last episode that actually Sherlock Holmes has a secret sister that he forgot about or something. And she's been masterminding all of these things the whole time because she misses her brother and wants to play with him. It's, it was so pulled out of their butts that it was embarrassing. Listen, people love a cozy mystery show, you know? You don't need any of this Miss Marple had a secret brother the whole time that's been doing all of the murders to give her something to do. 'Cause Miss Marple doesn't need that. Miss Marple can just go on a little seaside holiday, and it just so happens that there's a confidence trickster staying at the hotel, and coincidentally, somebody else gets murdered. I wonder if that confidence trickster had anything to do with it, or they're just a red herring. That's all you need for a freaking murder mystery show. That's all you need. You don't need any of this, oh, did any of the last episode happen, or was he just on drugs? I'm sorry. That kind of storytelling gets to me after a while. It's like you're constantly having to raise the stakes, and it's like, no, you can just have episodic television where a different mystery happens every episode, and you have little increments of character growth, you know? Like Holmes and Watson getting to know each other, you know? Watson gets a little bit more comfortable and gets a girlfriend, blah, blah, blah. That, you don't need more than that. You don't need to trick yourself into thinking that you're more clever than Doyle was. I don't know how clever Doyle was. He believed in the Cottingley fairies, but that's another story for another time. That might just be a gap in knowledge, perhaps. A blind spot. Anyways, Katie says, Game of Thrones ended so poorly there was a Starbucks cup in a shot. I love the fact that there was a Starbucks cup in a shot. I don't actually know if it was Starbucks or if it was just a coffee cup, but there was definitely a paper coffee cup in a shot. I think they removed it in post subsequent to that airing, Which is really unfortunate. They should have just left it in. Like, honestly, just do that. Just give us that little break in the suspension of disbelief to remind us that, like, this is just a teleplay, and these characters are just players, and you're just watching a story performed on a soundstage and filmed for your pleasure. Why not? Who cares? Who cares? I think it's very funny. I think someone should have caught that in the shot, but, like, oh, whatever. Ah, shoot, the ad is running. It stopped giving me ad warnings. I'm so sorry. BRB, everybody. Y'all, I'm so sorry. I do not know why Twitch is not giving me warnings that the ads are about to run. Because normally they give me, like, a 3-minute warning that, like, ads run in 3 minutes. It's a little green thing that appears at the top of my chat. It hasn't been doing that today. It tells me when the ads have started running, but it does not give me, like, a heads up. So I'm so sorry that we ran into ads and I didn't really have, like, a proper buffer. But as soon as the ads started running, I did hit the BRB screen, so you did not miss anything if you did have to see ads. And I'm so sorry if you had to see ads, but as we know, it is a necessary evil of being able to stream on this platform for you for free, and I'm very happy that you are here. I don't expect anyone to, like, pay to watch this. If you choose to sub because you want, you know, the emotes, or you want to support me, I am eternally grateful, but I do not, there's no expectation to do so, but I do apologize if you do see ads. Anyways, so that's that. Let me catch up with chat. Because, yeah, Katie says, I know there's a book series about a sister character, aka Enola Holmes, but the sister being a mastermind behind the scenes is too much. Yeah, that's just, I think I haven't firsthand experienced the Enola Holmes things, but I think that's quite sweet. The sort of, you know, you see that with a like a number of these kinds of, like, legacy stories and media things where it's like, okay, we're going to make a version of this that appeals to, like, a younger audience by introducing a character who's, like, the younger sibling of this famous character, or you know, like the niece or nephew or something like that, and they're, like, you know, sort of younger age, like teenaged or a child or something like that. And they did a couple of movies with her as well, I remember, for, I think it was Netflix? I don't know, because as we established earlier, I haven't been subscribed to Netflix in many years. But yeah, they were starring British actress Millie Bobby Brown, who I have not seen in anything except for ads for water filters. And I know that she is, like, as far as, like, actresses go, she's, like, 21, 22 years old, and I know way more about her than I feel like I ought to for someone I haven't actually seen in any films. Because she must have, like, a reasonably good management that has a really good, like, lobes for business, or she's just got really good lobes for business, because at, like, in her teens, I think, she launched her own skincare brand, which is wild to me. And I think she has a few other, like, fingers in business pies these days, in addition to having an acting career. And also being a parent. She's, like, 21, 22, and she also, like, adopted a baby. She's also married to the Nepo baby of John Bon Jovi, I believe. This young lady is super busy. I don't know how she has time to do all of it, except that she probably has bags of money and, like, a team of nannies to do all of the things for her. Because, oh my god. Millie Bobby Brown, who was in the Enola Holmes films. I don't remember what the young man's name is, but he's about the same age as her, but his dad is from the band Bon Jovi. AKA the man from the band Bon Jovi, whose name is Bon Jovi. Yes. I don't know what the child's name is. Dan Bon Jovi, perhaps? Declan? What are other men's names? Petros. It's probably not Petros. It could be. That's a nice name. Dean Bon Jovi, that flows nicely. Joey. Jake. Thank you, Jake. I knew it was something in the vicinity. I knew it was like, I feel like it wants to be monosyllabic. Jake, there you go. Yes, she's not married to the rock star who was an adult when I was a child in the 80s. She's married to his son, who's an age-appropriate, like, early 20-something. Otherwise, oh my god. But also, geez, I cannot, like, everyone's life path is different, but I cannot imagine, like, myself in my early 20s being like, I am going to adopt a child now. But also, I probably wouldn't have had the privilege to be able to adopt a child age 21 because my income was extremely part-time. I was in the middle of a university degree, and, frankly, I was a mess mental health-wise, so, anyways. But good for her. I'm sure she's a nice person, and I hope she and her family are thriving. Maybe someday I'll watch the Holmes family films that she's in. I think I've heard that they are fun. I think they have a fairly light-hearted kind of mystery tone to them. Which probably kind of suits if she's playing, like, the younger sibling of Sherlock Holmes. There we go. Okay. And look at me go! I've painted in a little tree. Just little bits of roots just kind of sticking into the ground in various spots. Money does open doors in some situations. Oh, absolutely it does. I mean, for the purposes of adoption, obviously, I understand that that the adoptive authorities want to feel reasonably certain that you're going to be able to, financially support your child. So, that would have like immediately limited, but also like I feel like a lot of the time you end up on waiting lists for quite a while depending on the situation. You probably if you have as much money as these people do, you can probably bypass the waiting list, which if that's the case, and I don't know whether or not that's the case, but considering how young they are and sometimes these waiting lists can be years, it probably was the case. It does make me feel a little bit bad for like, prospective parents who've been on a waiting list for quite a while and, really, really very much want to, be a loving home to a child who needs a loving home and are not able to do so. But on the other hand, hopefully a child is in a loving home, which is great. I love that for them. Anyways, this is my second tea, by the way. The bag is in it, which I don't normally do with bag teas, but this is one of the rare instances where I will cold brew something. This is a peppermint and spearmint tea, and I do find that you get like a perfectly cromulent amount of extraction on it if you just drop the bag of mint tea into a cold mug of water. And just leave it for like an hour. It's fine. Absolutely delicious. And also like no weird flavors or bitterness or anything like you sometimes get with an over-extracted black tea type situation. But also I kind of treat mint tea as in a similar principle to like if you're just drinking a bottle of water and you've dropped some mint leaves into it to just slightly scent/flavor the water, but it's still just kind of flavored water. I'm okay with my mint tea effectively being just cold mint flavored water, especially when the weather's hot. It is really helpful. Also, these tea bags were on sale on like a twofer, so I'm gonna be drinking a lot of mint tea for the next couple weeks. Yay! I have no complaints about this. I like it a lot. So that's absolutely fine. I need to invent some green, next. Anyways, I'm sorry to go on so much about entertainment, since some of which I have not seen. But never mind. Anyways, thank you for listening to me talk about mostly TV for the last 2 hours. I hope that that's been a fun time for y'all. I hope that whatever you've got coming up for the week ahead is going to be, like, interesting and fun for you. I have a week ahead of hot weather. I'm probably going to be staying at home as much as I can. I don't know whether or not I have any obligations that require me to leave the house. I do. I am meant to be going grocery shopping at midweek, so I will be slapping on a ton of sunscreen. Sorry, slopping on a ton of sunscreen and slapping a hat on, and wearing my lightest layers of, you know, extremely diaphanous linens, and my mountaineering sunglasses, which, So I was passing through Tower Gateway Station in London, around this time last week, and I took a selfie on the escalators at Tower Gateway Station, and it did this to the lens, the like outer lenses of my mountaineering sunglasses are highly reflective, and the rooftop of the escalator area of Tower Gateway Station is, like, domed, which resulted in my eyes looking like this. It's not coming into focus very well on camera, which is super annoying, but I looked completely bonkers. I posted this to Instagram, and multiple people were in my DMs being like, oh my god, it's Dr. Octopus. Which I consider a compliment, depending on which depiction of Dr. Octopus you mean. But if it's the animated one where it's a hot lady, or Alfred Molina's first appearance, like, yeah, okay, fair enough. I do not mind drawing either of those comparisons. That makes me feel a bit sexy. Anyways. You are fly, says Alec. Well, thank you, I think. Doc Ock, that you, says Katie. Sadly, I do not have, like, mechanical tentacles that will let me climb buildings. That would be rad if true, but sadly, no. I am, however, making panzanella for dinner tonight because it requires minimal heat being put into the house.
It's a family show. Be careful with your tentacles.
Sweetheart, I am saying no more about tentacles. This may be an adult stream for grown-ups, but you're right. There are limits to Twitch's TOS. Anyways. Anywho, what was my point? I'm sure I had one. I'm sure I did. That's what I was forgetting. I was like, this green, I'm struggling to get this green, and then I remembered I've got this green, which is a nice sort of slightly less fluorescent element to our green. It's artichoke green, and it's showing up as quite a sort of brownish gray on camera for me, but it is a green. It's just a very sort of, like, sagey kind of green. Speaking of, my beautiful husband, I'm not sure, I think it's behind my laptop currently. My beautiful moderator / spouse has allocated a Space Marine for me to paint, and I am going to paint them in beautiful shades of, like, I want like a soft 90s palette of, like, dusty rose and sage green and periwinkle blue. I just think that would look really pretty. Maybe a bit of lilac. I think that would be really fun. So that's my plan for my Space Marine. I don't know what I'm going to name them yet. But I will be giving them a name as well. Debbie's a good name. Maybe not for a space marine. Maybe, I don't know. Jeffica. Could be a Jeffica. We'll figure it out. Don't worry. Ah, that's what I wanted. Oh no, there's a dent in this tube. I hope that doesn't mean that it's gonna, like, squish outwards. Oh, it's not. Okay. If I open it. I'm stealing a little bit of this leek green gouache because I think it'll be a good foliage green. And this watercolor is gouache adjacent, so I feel like that's fine. Owl Quill is watching the news and wrapping up my day. Thank you for the lovely streams. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, Owl Quill. It's been really lovely to see you and really lovely to chat as well. I hope that the news is good, and I hope you enjoy your evening. I'm probably not going to go on for too much longer. I'll probably just finish this foliage and maybe the window, and maybe the roof, actually, and then call it a day. Because I have to, as I said, I've got to go make a panzanella for my din-dins. If you don't know what a panzanella is, it is a salad of Italian extracted, as you might have guessed by my pronouncing it panzanella. I apologize to any Italians in the chat. I took 2 semesters of Italian at university, and my memory of it is, I can't even think of how to say that it's bad. It's that bad. But I think some of my pronunciation, at least, has stuck. There are some Italian words that I really like saying. Melanzane, that's a nice word, I think. That is, that's eggplant for you North Americans, and aubergine for my fellow Brits. Delicious. Melanzane parmigiana is delicious. Oh, man. Oh, man, I want the weather to cool down now so that I can make aubergine parm. Oh, that sounds really good. Aubergines and, like, a nice tomato sauce with cheese. I think oftentimes the aubergine is breaded, but breadcrumbs are a tricky situation for me. I might just scrungle up some lightly toasted gluten-free bread and just sprinkle it over the top. It's also aubergine in Dutch, says Freddie. Ah, sweet! I wonder if we have any other vegetable names in common. I genuinely don't know. My knowledge of Dutch is significantly worse than my knowledge of Italian because I studied Dutch for, maybe about 3 months, once a week, with a very small child-friendly class. The classes, so I went to these, like, language classes that were run for free on weekends, like Sunday mornings, I think, out of a school that hosted them in the east end of the city that I lived in. They had a whole bunch of languages, and I think it was largely intended, as far as I could tell, for children whose parents were from those countries, or who had, like, grandparents maybe from those countries, so learning the language made it easier to communicate as a family. But I was just like, I want to learn a language. I'm going to go to language camp. And I think... and I just picked Dutch for fun. And I remember very little of it. It did come in handy ever so slightly when I was in Amsterdam, but to be perfectly honest, it's just easier to speak English in Amsterdam, I think. But yeah, I can't really recall any other similar right now. It's very similar ones, but not the same straight up. Yeah, there's probably a lot of, like, friends, but not exactly the same. But yes. Oh man, I want aubergines now. Oh, beans. And I want beans, but I always want beans, so that's nothing new. I don't think I have any beans in my immediate future for, like, dinners. Maybe, ooh. Oh, I've just had a nasty thought, but then I realized I don't have any tortilla chips. I was thinking, like, I could make myself, like, a bean dip with, like, some sour cream and some beans and some cheese and some tomatoes and some hot sauce, and then dip some tortilla chips into it. And then I realized that I don't have any tortilla chips. Did the camera ding? I didn't hear. That didn't come through my speakers. Oh, that's weird. Thank you, Katie. Okay, well, it's emergency time again. I'm so sorry, everyone. But I will sort that imminently. Thank you so much for letting me know. I do appreciate it. Please. the camera's just decided it doesn't want to work, we might call it for the day. Oh, I think we're back. Okay. I will stick around long enough to do this foliage, and then I think I'll find someone for us to raid, if that's okay with everybody. But, yes. I was, as I do, because I am arguably a little bit weird. Actually, no, inarguably, I am most definitely weird, let's be real. But I was doing a little bit of research. When I know that I'm traveling to a country that I've not been to before, I will oftentimes go on, like, the website of a major supermarket chain and just kind of nose around to see, like, what is going to be available that A, I want to eat, and also B, is something that isn't super readily available at my local supermarkets, and I always find that quite fun. Oftentimes I will try and sort of hone in on, like, what interesting cheeses am I going to be able to get from here? We ate some good cheese from the supermarkets in the Netherlands. Very, very good cheese. I think if I had to choose one, my favorite was the one that was, I don't remember what variety of cheese it was, but I know that the package said it was extra oud, and it was extra delicious. I do like an oud cheese, so appreciated that a lot. Dutch for fun. That doesn't sound very fun, says Freddie. That's the impression that I get from a lot of Dutch people. I'm sorry. I'm glad I'm a native speaker because I don't think I would have had the patience to learn. I say as someone who knows like 5 languages, but yeah. I mean, there were certain things that it wasn't like mega challenging, I wouldn't say. There were definitely, I think in terms of the challenging aspects, were definitely just kind of, as a non-native speaker, getting your head around some of the, like, phonemes, like, how different letters and letter combinations are pronounced, you know, and, I mean, that's just stuff that's, like, fairly straightforward, things like, if there's 2 O's next to each other, it's a long O sound and not, like, an oo sound like it would be in English, that kind of thing, and that, once you kind of get into that mindset, it's okay. Medusa, hi, hello, welcome in. You're just in time for the last couple of things. The tech difficulty scene is so cute. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I appreciate that very much. But yeah, I think because I was looking up stuff about Amsterdam like a year ago, I keep getting recommendations for this YouTube Shorts channel that's someone who lives in the Netherlands, and they do little skits. And one of them was like, as a non-native speaker living in Amsterdam, and he's having a conversation with someone. He's like, "Yeah, I'm trying to learn Dutch right now," and the other person's like, "Why?" Like the Dutch person is just like, "Why? Why would you do that?" I'm like, "Aw, that's mean," but yeah, that also seems to be somewhat of a prevailing attitude. And the answer at the time was just, it's an experience. It was an experience. Has it proved useful to me in the rest of my life? No, but I learned some things. I met some people, and at one point, at the end of the kind of like term, of the, at the end of the term of the like school session, they had this big like arts and crafts fair / bake sale, where a bunch of like parents and teachers got together and students got together and like brought in baked goods from the various different countries of various represented languages. So there were like people selling like I think like Chinese like dumplings, and I did get a very nice Dutch cake. I don't remember what kind of cake it was because we're talking 30 years ago. What is time? Oh my god. Terrifying. Anyways, the hard thing is Dutch is a very distinct dialect and the very different sounds and meanings words have depending on the dialect. That is a struggle. Yes, indeed. I saw, speaking of dialects, but a different language, I saw some discourse recently amongst, like, some German speakers being like, we should bring back just speaking in dialects to each other. Like, we need to stop just capitulating to just speaking, like, the horrible, manufactured, like, common German and just speak in the regional dialects, and I'm like, yeah, I wholeheartedly support this, except for someone who's visiting Germany in a few months and wants to be able to understand what the hell is going on as a non-native speaker. But I'm also only going to one city, so I think I'll be fine. And also, it's a city that's big enough and has a large enough population of people from other places, and it's very cosmopolitan, that, to be honest, I'm probably also going to run into people who work in, like, shops and restaurants who don't speak any German and would rather I address them in English. If my readings on the matter are anything to go by. So probably having a reading knowledge of German will be useful for that trip, but probably I'll just be ordering my coffees in English for the ease and convenience of the baristas who don't want to hold my hand through an interaction. They've got other shit to do. It's fine. Anyways, I'm gonna take a big sip of my tea. My voice is starting to go, so I think I'm gonna have to as well. I'm very sorry. I'm gonna quickly check on what was the color of the roof? Ah, shoot, I lost my place in my camera roll. Where was this picture? When did I take a picture? When did I save this image? What color is that? Oh man, it's like, it's a really dark brown, but I think I can put down just kind of like a base layer of this storm gray that's actually brown. And then I'll go over it with all of the roofy textures, and that will tone it down a smidge. Yeah, that's fine. That's alright. These paints, generally, I find can be quite... If you put down a reasonably, like, sizable amount of the paint, it's more opaque than your standard watercolor. They are described as being gouache-like, but they're not gouache. They're watercolor. It's very I don't know what these are. I don't think they do either. These paints are having an identity crisis, but whatever. We'll come back and actually paint these beautiful lady loves next time, I guess. But thank you so much for talking with me at length about, like, TV and other media and other silly things and public domain and yada yada yada. I love hanging out with y'all. It's really fun. I'm gonna take a little look-see and see who is online to do a little raid on if I can. Please do. Yeah, thank you. Okay. I'm gonna see who's online. We can do a little raid. Say hello to a friend of the channel. Perchance someone who we haven't seen recently, or someone who, ooh, okay, hold, I know where we're going. It's not an art stream, but it's a very on-brand game stream, I think, assuming they're not just about to finish. But also I hadn't raided them in quite a while. Okay, they're not just about to finish, but they're playing Stardew Valley, which is so lovely. So I haven't played Stardew Valley in quite a while. But it's very nostalgic for me, so please enjoy. Trying to get a raid message into chat. We're gonna raid Youth, who is lovely. So thank you so much for hanging out today. I will be back on Thursday doing more of the same. Probably more of the same, yammering on and not getting a ton done, if I'm being perfectly honest. But that's par for the course of an art stream. If you get a substantive amount of art done during an art stream, was it even really an art stream? I don't know anymore. But yeah, thank you all for hanging out with me so much. I had a really fun time with y'all, and I hope you did too. I will be back on Thursday doing more of this, hopefully not sweating to death. If it is, like, unstreamably hot, like, if it's not safe for me to attempt to stream, I will cancel, because your safety matters most, as they say. So, we'll keep that up in the air, I suppose, but the plan is to stream, and, I look forward to it, so I really hope that we'll be able to do that. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Where's the thanks for watching screen? There it is. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Good night, and good luck.